Hey everybody, welcome back. We are back in 2 Chronicles chapter 35, another chapter of God's Word, another goodin, as I like to say. So I read this, I'm going to summarize it as best I can for you, and then we're going to see if we can't pull something from it for our lives today. So let's get going. Alright, so to kick off chapter 35, King Josiah, he decides to throw a massive Passover party of the century, and not just your normal lamb chop dinner either. This is the Passover feast, and so it was important. Verse 1 says that Josiah announced that the Passover of the Lord would be celebrated in Jerusalem, and so the Passover lamb was slaughtered on the 14th day of the first month. So he tells the priests, you guys, do your jobs. Seriously, go stand in the holy place. He's like, guys, please, just one time. Just one time. Can we do all of this without chaos, please? Please? So then the Levites are mobilized, armed not with swords, but with organization skills, the ultimate clerical weapon. Am I right? So they prepare everything just as Moses and David had instructed them, and they're like basically saying, guys, look, see? We did it. We followed instructions. For once. See? Does anybody see? Nobody. Anyone? No? Okay. So then the sacrifices begin. The people bring offerings. The Levites help everybody out. It's orderly. It's reverent. It's beautiful. In verse 7, Josiah provided 30,000 lambs and young goats for the people's Passover offerings, along with 3,000 cattle, all from the king's own flocks and herds. That's not generosity. That is a lot of livestock. And so for him to give all of that, it showed his generous nature, his generous heart. But then the officials, they say, oh yeah, well, watch this. They donate even more animals, even more cattle. It's the Bible's version of basically saying, who brought the bigger casserole? And this chapter proudly says that the service was prepared, the Passover was kept, and the priests stood in their places as instructed. And the translation for that is basically, guys, we actually pulled this off. Nobody panicked. Nobody spontaneously died by accidentally touching the ark. And if I do say so myself, that is a success. So then, in verse 18, it says, never since the time of the prophet Samuel had there been such a Passover. None of the kings of Israel had ever kept a Passover as Josiah did, involving the priests and Levites, all the people of Jerusalem, and the people from all over Judah and Israel. No Passover like this had ever been kept since the days of Samuel. I mean, if that doesn't scream this party was legendary, I don't know what does. Other people had had Passover feasts, and they're all reverent, they're all meaningful, but this one here is highlighted as being epic, and I just thought that was kind of cool. Then Josiah, he decides to start his own little side quest here at the end of this chapter, unfortunately, because enter a fellow named Pharaoh Necho from Egypt. He's marching his army to battle against another nation entirely, minding his own business. And what does Josiah do and say? He says, guys, I think I want to fight that guy. But Pharaoh Necho, in a surprising moment of diplomacy, he literally tells King Josiah in verse 21, what do you want with me, King of Judah? I have no quarrel with you today. I'm on my way to fight another nation, and God has told me to hurry. Do not interfere with God who is with me, or he will destroy you. But Josiah ignores this completely, and he goes to battle anyway, and the result is him getting shot by archers, and he dies. He doesn't listen to the words of Necho from the mouth of God, and he messed around, and he found out. Israel does mourn for King Josiah's death. Jeremiah writes some sad songs. Everybody's grieving the king who threw the world's biggest Passover celebration feast party thing ever, and then died because he decided to get into a fight that wasn't his to begin with. Alright, so what can we pull from this today? What are the takeaways we can take away from this today? Number 1, doing things God's way always brings unity and blessing. This Passover worked because everybody did their part, everybody followed the plan, and it wasn't just a bunch of improvisations. It wasn't a bunch of people improvising. In fact, I think this Passover was so legendary that future generations were probably like, hey guys, do you remember when Grandpa Josiah gave us all of that free lamb? That was really cool, wasn't it? Yeah, that was the best. So yeah, doing things God's way brings unity and blessing. Number 2, a good leader inspires generosity. Can't talk today. Josiah gave all of those cattle and livestock, and he caused everybody else to kind of step up and do their part in their generosity as well. So that was cool. Number 3, even wise people make disastrous decisions. I think overall it can be said that Josiah was a righteous king. He made one costly, avoidable mistake at the end, which cost him his life. But overall, I think the lesson for us is that even if we're following God, we can still be distracted, and we can still veer off the path if we're not careful. So the challenge that I have for you today is this. Where in your life are you ignoring warnings because you think you know better? It's easy to do. Pride always kind of steps in and says, I got this one. I'll figure this one out on my own. But take one situation today and just ask yourself, is this something that I should stubbornly charge into? Or is this my Pharaoh Nico moment? We should be careful to listen for wisdom, even if it comes from places that we don't expect. Only do it.